Hello, my name is Abe, and today we are going to be taking a look at some video games. I want to do more of these Let's Look At videos after having not done any for quite some time. So the next few of these will be done in different styles, but for now, we'll be taking a look at Rogue Star Rescue, which I've had a key for like a year, and I haven't done a video on it, and I played a bit of this game ahead of time in anticipation of reviewing it. In the future, maybe I'll just jump straight into a game blind, but for now, just know that that is not the case here. So, what is Rogue Star Rescue? It is touted as a blend of bullet hell roguelite and tower defense, basically a dungeon crawler but with tower defense elements. And if you've ever played any Enter the Gungeon, the overall basic gameplay should be well familiar to you, but we'll just jump into the game. I'll go over the gameplay for like a level, and then after that, give my thoughts and opinions on everything, say what works and what doesn't work in my opinion, etc., etc. So we'll play, and we will, this is like a new run or an old run. Let's just do a quick restart here just so you can see everything from the beginning. In Rogue Star Rescue, you begin in this little hub ship realm here. Every level, in between each level, you will come back here. You can spend your money in the top right corner. That's 60 casings. We have 3, I say casings, let's say space credits, so we're not sued by dodge roll. We have 60 credits, 3 keys, health in the top right corner. Bottom right corner is grenades, shotgun ammo, and ammo in your current gun. We have 2 guns, an infinite ammo laser pistol, and a shotgun with 80 rounds. We can buy whatever guns we want, or items, or pickups, or HP, or ammo, or whatever. Synergy items if we want as well, doesn't matter. We can spend our money here. And there is also a little console here that we can use to buy new traps for our tower defense gameplay, or upgrade the traps that we have. So like if we wanted to, we could upgrade our turret from DPS 0.3 to DPS 0.45, and we could upgrade it again to DPS 0.6. I believe there's only 3 upgrade levels for everything, but we can spend our money making sure that we have enough traps for the next level, in between levels. Left click to shoot your gun. Right click gives you a bit of a dodge. It's more of a like jetpack. You can jetpack over pits if there's any pits. R to reload. And up here is your level selector. This kind of reminds me of the level selector of a game like Star Fox, where you can have different worlds that you can go to that have, maybe have different difficulties associated with them. And the final level might have different endings depending on what path you go through in the game. Maybe if you go the easy route, you get the basic ending. If you go the hard route, you can fight like maybe an additional phase of the final boss and get the true ending or something. Regardless, we're going to start at the primary defense station. But I kind of like the idea of having a path selector. It's not just like you roll a particular level and you have to go to that level. You can sort of pick and choose where you're going to go. And as far as I know, that level select screen is consistent game after game. It's never going to change. So we spawn in. We have a couple of characters. I'm not going to talk to them though, because I'm talking about the gameplay here, not the actual story or anything like that. I'm just going to completely ignore the story. So be it. We have a shotgun, we have a laser pistol, and room after room, we're going to be fighting these enemies. It is a bullet hell roguelite a la, Enter the Gungeon if you've played Gungeon before. I certainly have. And we're just going to be killing everything, going through the rooms, using, whatever resources we have to, ideally not so much ammo, so we can keep that ammo for later. And we are going to be on the lookout for the final room, the boss room. As far as I know, there is no item rooms, no shops. There's no special rooms that you're looking for in Rogue Star Rescue, and we can spend a key to open up this crate, and we got a paintball gun. It has 2,000 ammo. That's a lot of ammo. There's not really anything that we're looking for except for the final room. Okay, this thing does no damage. If you hold the map key, you can teleport to any room you want, to actually like any square of the room you want. So we can teleport, within this single room. I kind of like having teleportation options available to the player. If only Isaac had thought of it first, then every single, clone of that game would have teleporters built right in. But at least thank you, Gungeon, for helping us out. We have varying types of enemies. They're all gonna have different types of attack patterns as we go through the game here. We're gonna have to learn their patterns or just dodge roll through their bullets if we want. You are immune to bullets while you're dodge rolling, but I don't think you're immune to contact damage, so you gotta be careful about where you move. You can't change your direction as you travel with your jetpack, but you can in fact just jetpack in any direction you want. There doesn't seem to be a cooldown on the jetpack. However, you certainly would like to not run out of jetpack fuel, because you can only jetpack for like a second at a time while you're over a pit or over a bullet, so you do have to, make sure that you're aiming. We got shot, but it's not gonna really matter too much. Health, in a game like this, you tend to find that health is not terribly plentiful, but we will just have to make do. And so as we are looking for our final room, our boss arena, you might be thinking to yourself, well, where's the tower defense gameplay element? Well, it will show up, don't worry. I am just gonna continue to use all of my keys to pick up all these resources as I can. Fire grenades, let's use a grenade. You press Q, you throw it, it breaks stuff. There are sometimes secret rooms that you can find. So for example, maybe there's a secret room here because it's kind of like a bricked off wall area. I don't really, that's just pits. I don't really see any other possible secret room locations, but that's okay. Now, this is our boss room. On the map, there's a red line. There's shield icons on the floor. This is our boss arena / tower defense room. We have to protect this spaceship from the 2 teleporters here at the top of the level. There's a little bit of a maze, and there's a pit that enemies can fly over. We have traps that we can select: spike, slow, wall, turret, and barrier. And we have 100 seconds to do all this in. So really, if I wanted to, I could put down a few... I guess that's too close to the ship. I can't put another barrier there. We can put down some barrier traps. We can, put down some of our upgraded turret traps if we want. Like a few of those here should be good enough. And then, put down a couple of wall traps, like here, just in case I get through. And put down like a couple of slow traps. And I'll put one more. Good enough. That looks good to me. There is also, before we begin, a sort of like a little stationary turret we can hop into. This thing has some amount of ammo in it and a couple of random guns attached to it. So if anything gets through, we can just hop into this and then save our own ammo when we're actually shooting the enemies. So we're gonna begin our wave here. I don't know, maybe the paintball gun, because it just has good knockback and a whole lot of ammo could be good here. But now we just need to make sure that no enemy gets through to wound our ship. And I'm just gonna be spamming these paintballs as much as I can. These traps, or these, I guess traps, these trap towers that we have put down, they're not gonna take damage. Barrier traps can take damage, so you gotta be very careful about them. If an enemy destroyed one of those barriers and then just flew over the pit to our spaceship, that would be a very bad thing to have happen. But these turret traps, at least, they're not gonna be blowing up anytime soon. I'm coming for you. There's our boss. Hopefully we can deal with him. There's a little bit of a boss HP bar at the bottom of the screen. That's a big bullet. That bullet explodes. And maybe if I keep him knocked back, those turrets will just keep pounding at him. There we go. Easy. I can go over the turrets at least, or the barriers at least. You can see that they have taken a little bit of damage. We also got like a defender crest, and we can leave the level by talking to our robot friend. Let's get out of here. Let's go. And that's the first level of Rogue Star Rescue. After the level, again, we'll come back here to our hub world. We can stock up on traps if we feel like we need some more. We have 3 of these turret traps still. I think that's probably good enough. We can buy some items like keys, or guns like grenade launchers, or health, or ammo, or anything else that we wanted. I don't know what some of this stuff is. Quantum possibilities. 32 possible endings. I guess going to a different assortment of worlds gives you a new unlock as far as the end game goes. And it looks like there are alternative final destinations that you can go to. So maybe if you do go to the hard path, you can go to the hard ending. Anyways, after the first level, we can choose our path. Hard world, medium world, or easy world. I'm just gonna go medium world so that I can focus a little bit more on talking and less on actually dodging. But You know, there are different worlds that you can go to, and you can get whatever endings you want by combining the worlds that you go to. I guess you have 5 different levels in any single run of Rogue Star Rescue, and the levels you go to determine what ending you're going to get. Makes sense. Hopefully what I saw was, in fact, like a secret boss ending or like a new world that you can go to instead of just always landing on the same final world. It did look like that. Anyways, so now why don't we talk a little bit about what I like, don't like, things that work, things that don't work in Rogue Star Rescue. And I'm going to start with something that's very boring. I'm going to be starting by criticizing the camera. Because you may have noticed when I was playing the first level, and you'll notice as I move the mouse cursor around the corners of the screen, that the camera has a very slow pan to it. So if I go to the opposite corners of the screen, the camera takes a second to actually reach the cursor. I really dislike this in video games because I really want the camera to be snappy. When the camera has this slow pan to it, it's kind of difficult to aim at certain enemies. It feels like I'm going to be fighting the camera as I move the mouse, and then the camera sort of pans over to where the mouse is. Now, you may have noticed also, though, in a lot of these combat rooms, the camera actually does lock itself to the viewable area. Like right here, I can't move the camera left or right, even though I'm moving the mouse left or right. It'll pan a little bit up and down as I move, you know, up and down this this large vertical room. But it's not like I can. It's not like I can actually really showcase off that problem that I said I was having with the camera, except when I'm sort of in the middle of it. But still, having a little bit of sort of camera fightiness, even just in the middle of this room, is a little annoying to me, and it's not something that I appreciate. You know, if you're playing something like Gungeon, the camera would snap instantaneously to the mouse cursor. If you're playing Wizard of Legend, the camera has exactly 2 states. One is locked to the room, and the other is your character is always in the very exact center, and your mouse doesn't have any impact on the camera at all. You know, when I was doing a Let's Look At of Night of the Blood Moon, I believe it was called, I made a similar complaint about a slow-moving camera that would just slowly move to where the mouse is. If you're playing a bullet hell roguelite dungeon crawler, you really want that camera to be snappy so that you can actually aim appropriately. I feel like I dislike the slow-moving camera quite substantially. Additionally, with the camera, very difficult to notice, but as I move the mouse cursor to the exact horizontal of the screen, you'll notice that it snaps. As I move to the middle of the screen, in the cardinal directions, up, down, left, right, north, south, east, west, the camera will snap, and then as I move outside of that little window, it'll snap back, which additionally makes it hard to fight as a particular enemy if I'm trying to aim at an enemy and I can't really aim exactly where I want to aim. It makes it very annoying. It also makes it annoying when I'm placing traps in the final room, in the boss arena room, because if I am, and this is another sort of room where, you know, you can see that slow moving pan when I'm in the middle here, but because the left and right is sort of locked in, you don't notice it in that direction. But yes, anyways, that sort of lock into the cardinal directions is very annoying when I'm placing traps in the final room, because they will actually cause you to misplace a trap. It happened to me a couple of times before I realized that that's really what was going on there, because it's a subtle effect, but it makes it feel like you're fighting the camera, and you should never have the player feel like they're fighting the camera in a game like this. I will point out, however, that I've been playing a lot of Noita lately, and you definitely fight the camera in a game like Noita. However, I feel like that's more of a stylistic choice and a design decision specifically, because you're fighting everything in that game. You know, everything is out to kill you. You really do feel like you are struggling from the get-go, and it feels a little bit more stylistic in Noita when you're having to fight the camera. I mean, when you're looking down trying to see what's underneath you, and it takes a second, it feels like that's intentional, that you don't just look down and you have an instant peek of what's underneath you. You know, you have to actually let the camera take a minute to kind of slowly move down, and then you're a little bit defenseless about anything coming in behind you. But yeah, and it definitely in a game like this, it feels like it's not a stylistic choice. It feels like it's just kind of an oversight, and it's annoying for me, the player, having to worry about this slow moving camera that doesn't just immediately snap. But enough about the camera. Let's talk about the levels. The levels do feel a little bit plain. They feel a little bit uninteresting. You know, there's this blue flooring in this level with a lot of orange walls. Definitely complementary colors, but it's too stark. You know, there's no real other shades. It's not like we have alternative rooms that have alternative floor tiles or anything. The entire floor is going to be blue and orange, and that feels a little bit samey. Oh god, I was jetpacking, but I still took damage. It feels a little bit samey, and it feels a little bit uninteresting. Like yeah, you get some debris effects when you shoot things on the walls. They crack. If you shoot, you know, the flippers on the ground, they'll break open. If you shoot the enemies, they'll, you know, give some debris out. But the level itself feels sterile. It feels a little bit bare. Yeah, there's going to be stuff on the walls on occasion, but the flooring, no real variability in the textures is. I mean, you get some variability in a room like this, but it's still the same sort of blue and orange. Feels like it's a little bit samey and uninteresting. A little bit of lighting effect here is nice, and that definitely is a help, but there needs to be more of that kind of stuff. You know, a lot more lived-inness in these environments instead of just the same, you know, bright lighting, bright textures, or anything like that. You know, I know that I think a game like Gungeon, I think that's made in Unity, and it actually has like a 3D lighting engine in it. Your game doesn't have to have a lighting engine, but some like variability in the floor tiling would be good. Like there's even just having like this one little square here being different is nice, but that needs to be replicated in and not just be one texture tile of difference in the entire screen. You know, everything just looks very, very samey. As for the enemies, you know, I don't know what the heck this purple thing is. This is obviously some sort of like a space jellyfish here, who's now invisible and invincible, like I see. That's kind of unfortunate. And I got some more traps, +2 turret traps. So I don't really know what to say about the enemies. Everything seems to have an appropriate design, but, you know, I've only played a few levels of the game, so I don't really know where it's going to go from there. You know, I'm reminded of something like Gungeon, where the theming of the enemies is that everything is sort of bullet related. I'm reminded of something like Night of the Blood Moon. I remember when I was doing a Let's Look At of that game, one of the levels, all the enemies were themed after musical instruments. So there were tubas and saxophones, and they fired notes at you, and I think that type of theming is really cool and cute. And I guess in this level, since we are sort of aquatic themed, there's, you know, jellyfish enemies, there's a crab enemy here, there is a whatever this green blobbo enemy is, which is I don't know what he's doing. So as far as the enemy theming, I'm all for it. Synergy, snub nose pistol and laser pistol. There are synergies in the game. It definitely feels a little bit of a like a Gungeon ripoff, but honestly, if because of Gungeon we get more like hard set synergies in video games, I'm all for it. So I guess we have dual wield, infinite ammo plus snub nose pistol. I'm all for it. Any sort of extra efficiency out of guns, including extra ammo efficiency, I'm a big fan of in games like this. Right. I do wish that if you could click and drag, it would actually move the map. You have to WASD to move it around here. And again, you know, we're just kind of looking specifically for the final room, the boss room, the tower defense room, whatever you want to call it. Our exploration here is very limited. We're not looking for items, we're not looking for shops. There's nothing else to find except for the boss room. And I feel like that's definitely a bit of a negative here. Like, yeah, yes, it's a tower defense game, but it has dungeon crawly roguelite bullet hell aspects. But all of this exploration of the floor has just been, I'm not gonna say dull, but it feels like I haven't had much of a choice in it. Like we're looking for one particular room, and once we find the room, that's where, you know, we can actually play the tower defense elements to it. I'll talk more about that in a second, but first, regarding the tower defense gameplay, so we have to protect our space robot cowboy here. It also feels a little bit lacking in the tower defense gameplay. Like, there's only 5 different types of towers: spike, slow, wall, turret, barrier. The barriers can be destroyed, but that's just, you know, I guess it is what it is. Did I put another barrier here? Not entirely sure. There's only these 5 different types of traps. And there's only one wave of enemies as well. It's not like you're going to be fighting wave after wave after wave after wave of enemies and you can build an entire room filled with traps. You really only need to place a few down for the most part, and then that's it. Like, that is your tower defense element just kind of done. And it feels a little bit lacking. You know, I would like it if there was more tower defense gameplay. I mean, it is I'm just gonna say it. It feels really awkward when the camera just sort of like moves quickly and then slowly on its own when it grabs the cardinal direction here. It's just, it throws me off so much. But it feels like there should be ideally more of this tower defense gameplay element here. Like we're putting down turrets, we're putting down traps, and then we begin the wave, and then that's it. That's the limit. That's the extent of the tower defense gameplay right there. That's it. We're done. We will never again, on this floor at least, have to interact with the tower defense elements. And I feel like that's a bit of an unfortunate take on the tower defense gameplay here. You know, if I was to bring up a tower defense genre melding game, I would probably bring up 2 of my favorites. One is Sanctum, which is a first-person shooter tower defense game, and the other is Dungeon of the Endless, which is a dungeon crawly roguelite tower defense game. You know, Sanctum combines very nicely the tower defense and first-person shooter elements because it feels like the 2 genres build off of one another. Like, there's a reason to have both of them. You're putting down towers to protect your base, obviously, and then as a first-person game, you are managing things that your towers doesn't manage. You know, maybe your towers are weak against air, and then you have air units being brought in, so you have to focus on the air units. Maybe you put down anti-air towers, and then you deal with like clusters of weak enemies. Like, you can kind of interact with the tower defense element as you're playing the game as a first-person shooter, and there's a little bit of play there. They're like both genres kind of build off of one another in a cool way. You know, in Dungeon of the Endless, as you're exploring the floor, as you're exploring the dungeon, opening doors and looking at different rooms, you can put towers in each of these rooms. And each of the rooms in Dungeon of the Endless kind of create one giant maze that you have to protect. And you have a dungeon core, a crystal that you have to protect, and enemies will come out through empty or unlit rooms, and you have to try to figure out what the best solution is to keep everything safe. You know, where are you going to put your towers? Where are you going to light the rooms? Where do you want the enemies to kind of filter in from? But you get none of that here in Roguestar Rescue. Like, it doesn't feel like the dungeon crawling and the tower defense element really has any correlation to one another. We're dungeon crawling specifically to find this one room, and then when we find this room, all of our dungeon crawling is just thrown out the window, and the only thing that matters is this one room. You know, it doesn't matter if we explore the entire floor or none of the floor. It's not like the boss gets any easier or harder. You know, I would bring up Wizard of Legend, where if you explore more of the floor, the boss is weaker because he doesn't spawn in as many enemies. You can jetpack over these, by the way. But like, what is the point of having the dungeon exploration? You're not looking for item rooms, you're not looking for shops, you're just looking for random drops, and you're looking for this room, and that's it. What's the point of the tower defense gameplay? It's not like you're doing any tower defense in these rooms, it's just relegated to a single room. I just don't see how the 2 different genres build off of one another or meld in some interesting way. Like, I don't see it. I don't see an interesting reason to have a dungeon crawler roguelite mixed with a turret defense game. Maybe that's just me, but that's definitely what I feel like. You know, it doesn't matter that we came into this room. If we got dropped resources, great. If we didn't get any dropped resources, whatever. The room itself doesn't matter. And I've never really lost a run of Roguestar Rescue to taking damage from the rooms. It's only just been because of this one room where maybe your turrets weren't good enough, or, you know, a barrier turret was destroyed and enemies kind of ignored your traps, and the boss just kind of goes and obliterates whatever it is you're supposed to be protecting. It feels like, I mean, if we're just talking about that, it feels a little bit unfair to have a run be lost because you didn't put down enough towers, or maybe you just didn't have enough towers. Like maybe you put down all the towers you had, but you didn't have enough money to buy new ones, or through some sheer dumb luck, you like the enemy went through barriers and went around you or something like that. In a roguelite, if you're fighting a boss, you could suddenly have sheer will and inspiration save the day. You could make every dodge perfectly, live with 1 HP, flawless the boss, and be like, oh my god, I deserve this victory. It doesn't feel like you get that same sort of reaction out of Roguestar Rescue. Like, the boss isn't particularly hard. I just hopped in my turret and then shot him, and my turret shot him when he went by. I didn't really have to dodge anything. I just kind of hung out here and just shot bullets into the distance, and that was it. There's not a lot of opportunity for the player to it seems like to me there's not a lot of opportunity for the player to really make the run their own, if that makes any sense. But I feel like I'm somewhat rambling here. There is a level up system in the game. You can level up. I haven't really spent any of my points on anything. Don't really see the need too much. Sort of like, Rogue Legacy or Hades or any of those games where maybe the game is very difficult early, but then as you gain experience and level yourself up, you give yourself additional resources and options, and you're more efficient at the combat in order to get through the game. It is, it is what it is. I don't really mind one way or another as to a level up system. As far as roguelites go, I tend to prefer not having level up systems. I know that there is a level up system in Hades, and that game is one that I'm very much enjoying at the time. I'm trying to think of why I think the level up system in Hades is okay. I guess the reason why I think it's okay in Hades is because the level ups give you such clear advantages that it's kind of intended that you're supposed to, die and then use your experience to level yourself up to a point where you can actually win. I don't really know, how much of a benefit you get out of the level ups here in Roguestar Rescue. Plus 1 health every 5 points. You could get 1, 2, 3, 4 additional health. And then vague sense of speed, accuracy, or damage, whatever that actually means. You also unlock items as you level up, which I guess is another reason to have a level up unlocking system like this. But anyways, that's sort of my opinion on Roguestar Rescue. That's the gameplay and that's my thoughts on it. I don't really see the tower defense gameplay really synergizing that well with the dungeon crawling roguelike aspect of it. Like, I don't see the reason to have the dungeon crawling when it doesn't interact with the tower defense element. I don't see the reason to have a tower defense element when it doesn't really interact with the dungeon crawling element. Like, there's no reason to do one or the other. It just feels like they're kind of just thrown in. It feels like it's thrown in so that they can say, hey, look, we're genre melding. We have 2 different games in one. Do you like roguelites? Do you like tower defense elements? Well, surely you'll like Roguestar Rescue, except the tower defense isn't that satisfying. There's only a single wave of enemies. You put down a smattering of towers. You want to put down as few as you can so you can save your money for other things, and then that's it. That's your tower defense done. I feel like it's a little bit dull. But regardless, that's Roguestar Rescue. Those are my main criticisms of the game after having played it for a couple of hours on and off over the past year, trying to find the time and the opportunity to do a Let's Look At of it, and that's our Let's Look At of Roguestar Rescue. I'm going to be doing more of these with various games that I have acquired keys for in the future. Some of those might be games that I just sort of jump into blinds. Maybe those are games that I have played a little bit to sort of get an idea of what I like and don't like about it, or get an idea of what the game actually is. But as for Roguestar Rescue, that's Roguestar Rescue. After the level, we'll come back to our hub world and buy items like fat bullets here. At least it's not +1 to bullets. Flak bullets, yep. Very much wears its Gungeon inspirations on its sleeves, I think, which is perfectly fine. I also feel like our main character here looks a bit like Finn from Adventure Time. Hopefully they don't the developers of this game don't get sued by Cartoon Network. That would probably be a bad thing. But as I struggle to end it, I will just end it. This has been Rogue Star Rescue.